Hello and welcome to a new video, which, well, it needs a bit of explanation, and I hate long, self-indulgent intros, so, Avonvale is a personal art project about a whimsical fantasy city and its citizens. To help develop the city, I made some characters through whose eyes I could see parts of the city I wouldn't ordinarily consider. Naturally, some of the first characters I made were a couple of tour guides. When mulling over the idea of an Avonvale game set in a largely conflict and greed-free world, I settled on the idea of competing tour guides trying to make their tourists as satisfied as possible, and now I need to design a bunch of fantasy tour guides, so here we are, and I know you don't care, but I do, so I'm gonna do it, so let's go! We begin with some of the very first characters I designed for Avonvale, namely Urkel and Zig, enthusiastic little friends, cloth and rope golems respectively. They'll go right out of their way to make sure you're having a good time. Always a show to put on, always an anecdote, something to lift your spirits on the long trek. There's probably even a drink under that hat just for you. Don't ask how it hasn't spilt yet, it's skills. Of all of the tour guides shown here today, Urkel and Zig are the most likely to spend the off-season searching high and low for new, overlooked attractions and curios, a story buried in hundreds of years of obfuscation and folklore, an ivy-cloaked ruin past unknown in some backstreets, a prodigy rehearsing their obscure but impressive skills on their front step. They want you to have a unique experience, and after all, if they keep finding new things, that's all the more reason to come back next time. They also play the mandolin and the squeeze box, but, you know, they'll stop if you want them to. No charge. Next up are the Slate Twins, brother and sister who know this town like the back of their little paws. Well, they know the rooftops, at least. The streets of Avonvale are winding and irregular. Meander Street leads to Oxbow Lane, which leads to Billabong Avenue, and 5 minutes of walking later, you're just 10 feet from where you started, on the other side of an inconveniently placed cobbler's or butterfly house. Not so with the Slate Twins though. Provided you don't mind a little clamber, the two can take the path as the crow flies, up and over the buildings to both get you precisely where you need as quickly as possible, and also give you a grand vista along the way. Of course, they cater for all kinds. Disabled access, in the form of young Miss Slate, will carry you up if needed. Acrophobics have provided a handy blindfold or portable zoetrope for distraction. They've reinforced the ladder to carry any and all, and with an optional pulley system for good measure and comfort. So if you want to reach the dizzying heights that only a slate tour can offer, put in a word with a little bird, and they might just carry your message to the rooftops above. Failing that, they do have a P.O. box. That's probably the best way to do it, actually. Birds are quite unreliable. And now, gentlefolk and all ye of a curious nature, may I be honoured to introduce to you the great, the amazing, the splendiferous Skillermalink. And Benjo, he's here too. Something of a showman, particularly the part that's a bit of a con, Skillermalink has something of a dubious past. Slick-tongued and swift-footed, Skillermalink's knowledge of the back alleys of Avonvale are second only to the person who finally caught him. At that moment, it was decided that Benjo, an honest dog of virtue, would become Skillermalink's moral chaperone, keeping him on the straight and narrow. Of course, being pious and pure doesn't blind you from a good business opportunity, and so Benjo sets Skillermalink up as a tour guide to make the best use of that nearly unparalleled backstreet cartography. Who needs to clamber over roofs when you know precisely which serviceway or blocked drain will get you where you need to go? So, why not take a tour unlike any other? All the showmanship of a grifter with none of the con, all the sights and sounds with none of the detours, all of the knowledge of rehabilitating the terminally devious but with none of the charity. Benjo is not a charity, no refunds. Righto you lot, shoulders back, smiles wide, it's time to salute the Junior Tour Badge Scout Troop. A collection of fledgling scouts ready to help out around the city, ready to grow into the world around them, and ready to get their tour guide badge with a combination of pluck, childish enthusiasm, and above all, teamwork. While you might not be able to delve too deep into the history of any given site, nor get too close to the more adult niches of the city, the troop more than make up for it in sheer numbers. At any given time, one member of the troop can rush ahead to scout for a fun new attraction, one can hop off and grab your favourite drink from a pop-up milkshake stand, another can grift a guidebook from the sympathies of the souvenir stall attendant, all the while leaving the leader to tell you everything you need to know about the tour with only the minimal amount of stumbling childish zeal. Be sure to put in a good word with the Scoutmaster after the tour. No payments required, of course, only the satisfaction that you're helping these kids develop the social and entrepreneurial skills that I wish I was taught at school, but hey, I know the cosine rule, and that makes up for it, right? Have you ever felt a growing irritation at stumbling and clawing your way through a gormless crowd, blocking your view, your progress, and your zen? Well, worry no more with Dozer and Mitre, the only tour guides who can guarantee no more crowds, no more slowdowns, no more interruptions, just pure brute force barging. They'll part the seas of the guideless masses with combinations of whistles, muscles, and motors faster than you can say, "Please don't hurt anyone, I just want to see a fountain." Don't worry though, they're the utmost consummate professionals, plying and ploughing their trade for decades at this point to ensure minimal casualties and thus minimal price rises to compensate for all of the compensation they have to pay out. I kid, they're as gentle as can be. It's been at least a year since the last accident, and that was their fault. They shouldn't have been riding a velocipede that close to the embankment while spinning that many plates. It's just irresponsible if you ask me. Wait, what? Oh, okay. Apparently they were a street performer. Yeah, that answers a lot of questions. Okay, fun's over. Time to hand in your essays and receive your history grades from the Academiacs, a group of self-styled know-it-alls who have a fact for any and every occasion that you care to engage with. The most researched and well-learned guides on the thoroughfares of Avonvale. Wherever they take you, they can delve deep into its past, its present, its likely future, and the minutiae with which these intertwine with as much flavour and zest as a rice cracker. Okay, that's a bit cruel, but where they excel in knowledge, they do lack a little in theatrics. I mean, they've coordinated their costumes, sure, but nobody quite knows why. There's no known scholastic institute with those robes. Also, they never seem to open the books they carry, presumably since they know it all already, but that just begs the question as to why they carry them at all. I don't think they're books at all, between you and me. I think they're hollowed out and stocked up with whiskey or something, but who am I to judge? Well, I'm their creator, that's who. I made them. But then again, that means I came up with the things that I'm judging, so that's... hold on, I'll be back in a second. Right, sorry about that. And on to the complete opposite end of the spectrum of flair and flamboyance, we have Sultarello, aka the Favour Monger. Sultarello is a friend and joy to all. When not touring, they are happy to lend a hand with whatever burdens you. Always a favour to spare, always time to gift. Naturally, of course, this leaves old Rello with a hefty backlog of favours to cash in. Yeah, that seems a little manipulative, but of course, Sults isn't in it for themselves. They're here to show you a good time. By which I mean, a nice tour. You want to see that play? Sultarello knows a guy who can get you front row tickets. Fancy a trip to the cathedral? The head monk's a personal friend. He'll get you into the belfry and all the way up the spire. Enjoying the death-defying Flames of Doom acrobatics display? Sults knows the ringleader. You can get up on stage and join in. Best not do that one. The point being, Sultarello knows everyone, and everyone knows and likes Sultarello, even if they can be a bit much at times, hard to stomach with a hangover, certainly. Still, you want it, Sultarello knows who can get it. Oh, also there's Trasconi, the page. He keeps track of all the favours. He doesn't talk much, not a fan of the limelight. Nice though. And that's it. That's all I've got for today for my peculiar whimsical fantasy world. If you'd like to see more from Avonvale, tour-based or otherwise, please do let me know. It's a lovely little fantasy playground in my head, and I'd love to make more of it manifest to spread the whimsy. Thanks go, of course, to my exceptionally generous patrons who somehow put up with my inability to focus on a single project at any given time. Yes, Honcho is still ongoing alongside October and Outliers and that one comic I was gonna make with Gremlins. The list goes on. Thank you for watching this far, if indeed you have, and if you haven't, I hope you did something that made you even happier than I could, which, is probably quite a low bar, all things considered. Have a wonderful time, everybody. Thank you for watching. Goodbye. And that's it. That's all I've got to cuff. Ready to grow into the blah 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 and learn to speak better than me. Also, they don't open the books they carry. Oh, it's just fantastic at completely ruining delivery. It's amazing.